Well, hello everyone. You're welcome back to the Gold Monument 18 right here, and you have right here like talk about for the number 18, and this right here talks about for licensed property, and if anybody wants to that whenever you graduate and then complete a number of courses and knowing about any kind of a license, likely that I say will be granted as well, and for United States Treasury. But I just mainly want to talk about right here for for number 18 was you talk about for the gold monument of any job offers market that are available, and if anybody are to where any type of license, and I'm sure that with any kind of license, if it's going to be what you call that you would say that the license property rights is that knowing is to where that if we were to be earning our license for anything such as for business reasons, or if it's anything about maybe meetings or anything done in like the professional world, and if you want to call it like your maybe professional companies as well, and you would earn like a license, and with the license that would be good for about maybe 5-10 years or maybe 3 years at the most, and at least for a full year. And what does that basically mean? It's like I explained, say on page 5, I think. But anyway, but you see right here is that with the, like a this right here will be a design right here of a website. For any details on a website right here was me right here. So with the birthday cake, and then you have right here is for job resume as well as for advanced, you say for brain power as well, for problems and puzzles. And you have right here is this right here would be example right here of me right here is like whenever I was young, talking about for the license. And with this license, though, is that it could be like for like any type of graphic or web designing or anything based on which costs like a for for what I do for the company, especially, and for my Photoshop work right here, and like I may explain on the resume too, is toward anything about based on my experience, and I'm sure most of us who turn at least 18 years of age would say is toward that that. Besides like for the golden birthday. And and I know with me though, remember my golden birthday is that I think it's the word that a few presents I had gotten, but then one of those of course was not included like the software, but you have right here is this like would right here would be an example right here of a degree, and I know that if anybody will warrant toward that, that if we were to be what you call doing any type of what you call shopping or doing anything online, that we will be reading something like this right here. This right here I went and typed up. I type, but then sometimes there are some licenses that we would be reading about, and with these licenses though is that some like they say like well I would probably say is that well I didn't write it, I did not write this, but it goes on for about maybe 25 or maybe 30 pages of about the rights and the responsibilities of for having the program, and as well as having access to the if it's going to be the Creative Cloud, or if it's anything about online that like anything related to working online. If it's anything about what you call the online desk or anything like that, for the professionals, and anything online or anything about what you call it, and I guess you can maybe say is toward the property that it's licensed to you for the particular reason. It just for it's like for being a professional as well. So this was right here was me right here, and I went ahead and reworked a little bit of this using the Photoshop program. But this was right here was me right here. It's like if I were to be what you call my childhood look right here. And if I say that licensed for 5 years. For more information, check me out at make a for more information, the digital designing professional license. So this right here, that most of us can see this right here, talks about here for license agreement for anything about for the sole your professional to use the professional software programs, and to me your license to be see for designers for what they are for what they are where to do, and then the rules of the state of Missouri, and then for if they will be applicable for a law. So this right here would be example right here as I would have came up with right here. It this was like an actual license, and with this license, though, that it can mean is toward that yeah, that for anything that I do as a professional, and then for whenever I graduate, and as well as anything about the gold monument, and something that basically that contains the information that I would need for anywhere I go. To get just to introduce the clients to what I do, and then for any meetings about as to where that they look at my work performance, including what's on the resume, and then just to kind of get them an idea as to where that yeah, you're so and so for any source of identification. This source of identification that more likely would mean is to where that the type of identification that it basically means is to where as a designer and as a professional to where how well you are willing to work with like other people about with anything that you're doing on a daily basis, and then like anything like if it's going to be anything about maybe overtime availability, and as well as about employment. And I know that there could be like a chart that would explain a lot of what you calls like based on the information about anything that's related to jobs, and is anything about the jobs and other people that you're going to be working with, especially, and for how to manage a problem if there is a problem, about how you handle it, especially. But this right here was some ideas I came up with right here. This was like what you call like a license. And for Gold Monument 18, I just really want to go ahead and kind of talk about this. And if anybody will warrant to her, then what do you think a lot of those license agreements you really say? And something that really say about the ownership of it is to where they say is to where that you are only granted to be able to use only one copy of the programs, or if like the license terms. So whenever we're going to be going anywhere around the country or so, and be carrying a license like this right here, and anybody that may warrant to it, yeah, especially if you're going to be taking it home with you and be talking to other clients or so about anything that you're doing online or so, anything from home. And so basically that it can cause is to where that having about maybe 5 years, which I think that they have some licenses, I think, are only licensed for up to 1 year. If anything, up to maybe 3 years at the most. I don't know about 5. I picked right here for 5 is to where that for anything about professional work is that at the 5 years at the most. And I guess maybe 5 years can maybe be granted for if you've been working a job for at least 3 years, and then maybe that they can grant a license for about 5 years for full 5 years for any for you just to be able to do work for other people, and just to be able to have access to the variety of information, as well as with the software and any of the programs that you've been experienced to use, and as well as how well you use it and how well it's managed. And then for anything so far as editing does, between the editing and then anything else that's done, it's like for by professionals, like for digital work. So the way we think about this is to where that any type of license that we think about that you may have not heard this back whenever you were 13 or maybe 15 years old, but then whenever you're 18, that it's like talk about for the bank accounts. So that anybody who's going to be turning at least 17, 18 years of age is going to likely say is that they're not quite used to all this information. There's a lot of information about it to where anybody say that, yeah, well, it's not really like a board game to where you have players, and those players, really, you got, there's only maybe so many rules that you got to go by, but think about it, say for a license though, is to where that being on a job is to where that there's going to be what you call licenses and privacy matters and rules and all those other things. And if anybody say like the privacy policy, and as well as the terms of use, that there's probably it contains about maybe 25 or so pages of data that basically explains as to where about the use of what you call the online service. And really that for how my name is used, especially if there's anybody say that, whenever you do get hired on a job, that people want to use your name as for reference, or if it's going to be anything about, we say, based on your experience on a job from the school that you went to, plus, other people that may have known you from a previous job, that they would ask is like, for your name in general, and then, about the license that you do have. So that basically means, like, if anybody that like wanted to wear, that we would maybe think as to where it shouldn't cost us anything just to have a license for about maybe a year or maybe full 5 years. And I guess you could say that, the amount of money that you cash dollars that you've earned from a job that they say is to where there may be there may need to be like what you call like an agreement. It's like your exception to where that the amount of money that you make you will be used, which it calls to where it is paying you for for your license, or that like you say, it says it's granted to you that maybe after maybe promotions, if there's any promotions that take place, especially. So when we look at this right here, is this right here will be like a license right here, and when Photoshop work right here, and it's like this right here will be an example right here of my future home right here, like I explained, from 15, for Gold Money 15. And so that's just the thing that anything about online service uses for digital design professional work, it's like for license, and then for 5 years, and then for make a for more information. So I may have about maybe 25 accounts, but until that whenever I do earn my certificate and any type of license, and I know that anybody like to say is that you just like compared to like a driver's license, that you had that ability to do so much, but then with like any type of license, if it's going to be what you call using the software programs, that we can maybe think about as to where picking up a telephone is there like any particular restrictions or license about that, about what calls that you can make around town or anywhere in the country, or using Skype call or anything like that? And so that's just the thing about it. It's like using emails especially. So if anybody wanted to where that if you're going to have like maybe like a private email, or if it's any type of a other source of email, such as email by mobile, that if there's like no restrictions about the license about that, then more likely than that, chances are that there's going to be what's called a detailed agreement as to where that what a lot of these agreements basically mean. And I could probably say as to where that they basically means as to where that we want to make sure that you use it right, and use it properly and accurately, compared to what for like understanding about is to where for being a professional is that you're like wanting to, well, it's my birthday, I can do what I want, but then something may say, well, this right here, this license right here, is that you can use this photo right here, and this right here will be a photo right here of me whenever I was young, back whenever I was about 4 or 5. But I use this photo right here as that basically represents this to where this is a type of career that I've been into since I was a kid, and so this right here will be me right here. Before as like just to kind of the countdown, from history, the history about my early childhood and from where I'm at now, for being over 18 years of age, and then having this type of license. So if this was right here, this was like maybe like any type of a sleepover party or anything like that, and anybody that may want to, or whenever you do get a license like this, is to where that license basically means is to where that it's something to where that it's like it's permissions, and if you want to say it's like it's something to where it allows you to where that this is a for like anything about professional job industry, or if it's anything about for data that basically it's like the workforce, and if you want to look at it as to where like it's like your permission, it's something to where that having a license for digital designing, especially in the professional world, and you can look at it as to where that your right to be able to use the programs for other people that want to know a little bit more for what you do, that this is the license to be able to have access to that information, and as a professional. as a professional to show other people about, for what you were trained to do, and as well as for a professional, how much hard work and progress that you're willing to able to accomplish. So that's just the thing about it, to where that most of us will probably warrant, to where what is an agreement, maybe like a contract or anything about negotiation, as well as for exceptions based on a license. And so that's just the thing, though, is to where having a license, just like what you say for like anything about a digital designing professional license, that I would probably say is to where that we've been used to what you call going to a store and buying the program from there. But let's just say that with the license for 5 years, is it basically means is to where it's not something you can just buy at the store. It's something that you gotta go to school to earn, as well as just to be able to be earn that certificate. You just to be known as what you call that designer in general, as you're working with other clients as well as the company as well. So if we was like looking at this right here, and looking at numbers of pages right here, like a 1525 or so pages, and one thing that more likely that you're going to write in here will be is to where yeah, that between like your for accept and more likely that people say is to where see here right here is to where think yeah, accept something like that. It's like a Mario with that is a bit, but anyway, for like accept and have right here like it. So if anybody like warrant toward it anything about what you call like for accept, and and whenever we accept that what you call that right and responsibility, there that responsibility, knowing about that for anything that you have access to online, that don't use it, like don't abuse it, and don't use it that's not respectful against the privacy rights, because they say is to where that yeah that anything that you do, that knowing for how you use it especially. And so that's just a thing that about anything that will be caused between the company's rights, and then my rights, and as well as anything about the future's rights. So that's just a thing about is to where anything about online accounts, and with anything that we could probably say is to where if we accept or so about the license and conditions about anything about working with computers and technology, and as well as new stuff that going to be coming in the stores in the future, mobile devices, anything like that, any sorts of documentation data or anything like that. So that's just the thing that with me right here is that if nobody really has seen this before, or just kind of curious just to really know about what it looks like. So if this was right here, it's like, yeah, for like a, and I'm sure most of anybody will probably say is to where that, yeah, that you're looking at something and you're like, I didn't write that. That's that's not even in my own words. But I'm like, well, this right here will be in my own words. But it's just like an example right here of like, it's like a professional license agreement. It's like for a license agreement based on the company, and as well as for whose license to be able to use it, and then for the company that you work for, especially the company that the student works for, whenever they do get a job, is that they likely say they're going to more likely be like any type of a license agreement. And say that, yeah, working out with the company to where it may not be a real big costly matter, but then and then it may be a license for about 5 years to this person, to this professional. So it's like knowing about respect about is to where that do not abuse it, you do not try to sell it illegally or so, and just respect that. So that's just the thing about it, to where that any type of license that that is granted for anybody. And have right here is the world map right here for anybody. Say for twice the work, and for language arts right here for postpaid, for package delivery by 2023, and for jobs, little brother, great progress. And it's like for automatic as well. That guy right there, baby picture right there, and then a job resume right here. And for improvements of the brain power right here, like how here is for mobile use right here, if this was like a meeting, and then you have right here's for happy birthday for the graduate, for the gold monument to respecting the rights, and so this right here would be some from since 17 of talking about for that understanding about online accounts especially, and then for the Statue of Liberty, I like to go monument at night. So that's just a thing about is to where that anything about to where licensed property and knowing about from the times like you for having access to this 24 hours a day, that you're like one to if you have the right license to be able to have access to that to the online accounts especially. So that's just a thing about it. So between company use and then privacy use especially. And so what does that basically mean? If anybody warns us toward it, whenever you turn 18, that basically means like you are considered an adult. And then whenever you are considered an adult, as toward it, knowing about is toward it, there's going to be what you call privacy rules, and for how it needs to be used, especially for other reasons to where it needs to be used for working with clients especially. And and then that's just the thing about is to where that about for any type of certificate that for any type of game that we may be playing, especially on a birthday, that if it's going to be what you call anything about is to where that about games that maybe a Monopoly or any type of board game that you're going to be playing, and you're like one toward it. You're like you roll the dice, and then there's like any type of rules or whichever regulations about maybe any points that you're going to be earning, especially. But you have right here is like for the student graduate, and then talk about for licensed property, and so that's just the thing is that we may say it's like you maybe not 100% of the properties, like knowing about from the school as well as from the company, especially, and for 2017, when we file our taxes, that anything that's marked that's licensed to us, anything that's licensed to us, that they say is to where it's guaranteed to where that we ask it's like to respect that license, that you can't abuse it. But anyway, don't sell it. Don't do anything illegal or so, and try to respect the rights about the use of purposes of it. But have right here's the United States Treasury right here, and I like the stars. So if anybody wanted to where that anything about the license rights, and have right here's like this was right here was me right here on my golden birthday. For whenever I turn 18 years of age, it's like for like the golden birthday. If anybody wants, where you by the time you're 18 and then you if you were born on the 18th or so of the month, you'd be known as like for the golden birthday. And I could write that down. I could type that as well. For golden birthday. So you have right here for golden birthday. I know I explained earlier. It's like from the years. The golden birthday, that was about 3 years ago, something like that. When I was talking about that, about the golden birthday. So this was right here was me right here, right on the golden birthday right here. And I know that I think I may have said I was 12 in this picture, but anyway, other than going by one drawing after another, if anybody worries as to where that anything about what you're doing, and wondering to where golden birthday, and I'm like the golden birthday, of course. Then I have like the gold monument on the candle right there, but they have right here's for promotions especially, and then for 2017. So a lot of the information that what's going on between now and next year in January, and just think about it's like getting that information together and being logged on to this site, and have right here's for the email address right here for 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 Matthew 374@gmail.com, and you have right here's the birthday right there for July 10th of 2018, and then you have right here's the mobile use right here. And then have right here's the rules, and as well as the toys right here. Have right here's like me right here in the meeting, and the experience promotions, as well as for resume. So if anybody wanted to where anything that you'd like to include on a resume, especially such as to anything about besides experience about licenses, especially about any properties of license, and then maybe about how their other clients know you best as well. So anybody that maybe want to buy your work, and anybody that want to do any study more about your profile. And you say, well, what is a profile necessarily? Profile means contains information about you and your work status and data, anything about maybe context and as well as job performances, interest, anything like that. Like, and you name it, but then likely weren't toward it. Yeah, think of one thing that maybe you should not include on a profile. And you say that, well, it's not a very smart idea to include your social security information or anything about, only for security purposes, for security purposes only. So just for security purposes that they would ask for that information. But they might say, please don't look at it as your favorite color. Favorite color to where you're going to have it displayed everywhere, on your t-shirt, wherever. But anyway, that's goes like for like the language arts right here for the twice the amount of work right here. So if we're like more toward it, yeah, whenever we graduate and think about it toward the amount of work that we thought that, like, well, we don't really want to have time to get to it if we need to get to it right away or if we're able to get to it. So let's just say that if I had over 50 years or so of any work based on my research about digital designing professionals. So just think about it to where if you have anybody that that knows your work very best, and then they ask if they would like to get into that same work field, and so that's just the thing about it to where have a goal to where in the next 50 years or so, maybe by the time I get into a retirement, and then maybe that there may be somebody that's going to take interest a little bit about what I do as well, or anything else about related to web designing or anything about engineering or anything like that. But anyway, but that's just the thing about it, is like for any type of license though, is that if anybody warns us to that whenever you read through it, and quite a few of it basically says no warranties are granted, and I know that that's another thing that it mentions too about is to where between the state, for whenever the programs are produced, and it's like for anything about say for granted a use of say the sole purpose. And then for like anything about real license, an agreement, from the designer, to be used for property and manner for those who take interest in hiring. So if you're like Warren toward it, any type of writing a license, and so whenever if I were to be what you call 18 years of age, and nowadays it seems like almost anything between 18 and 21 years of age, that you would need to be at least 18 to 21 years of age just to have your own account, just to do a number of things. To have a license, have to write the license, just to be able to you say you work in like the professional world, like as well as for how people get to know you, and as well as the use of the programs as in your accounts as well as emails. So that's just the thing about with a lot of these licenses that some people may say is that well, I did not write this, so it's like just read this right here and then click accept. But I'm like, I wrote this right here, my own words, is just kind of assume. It's like for most license agreements that they would contain about 25 pages long. So I just kind of want to make this short right here and say for you actually click accept, and then you will be able to enter it into the home page right here, and then you'll be able to go into that like the work desk, because that having the access to the tools, and then as well as other things like for tools. And I know that I'll go ahead and include tools right here. That I was going to include that too, but I might well go ahead and talk about the license. So I have right here the tools. And if anybody were toward the tools and then the different programs and the files that you're using especially. So if anybody were to any type of tools that I would be using on a daily basis for anything about digital design. So that's just the thing about tools though. It's like for tools that I would be using, and as well as for other programmings, and for one tool that more likely say is like if there's going to be what you call like the pen tool or the pencil tool, and there's going to be what you call like any other type of tool especially, and a gradient tool, but any other tools that all that be able to have access to, and then be able to have experience, work experience with understanding about what they are for and their purpose, and then for knowing for anything else it could be done, for so far as editing and as well as for processing as well. But any updates that go on. But anyway, let's say for license right there for 25 accounts, and you have right here is for the budgeting as well for a year, and calculations about how much money it's like you'd be making, and about for how the money is managed as well. And you have right here is for 7 years of following, for July 18th of 2018 right here, like for normal, for the gold monument. But they have it talk about for the gold, for 1,000 clients of talk about for the license especially. So it's like anything about for twice the amount of work, and half the time you're like Warren toward the twice the amount of work. Is that for the better? You just kind of keep you busy, but still, like we weren't toward it. It just seems like us toward it. The work just keeps on going in order about the licensed property. So anything about the professional work is toward it. Really, that if you run out of things to do, then that's really what you call like a serious matter. It's like, well, to just try to think about the next step to what you do. But you have right here is like I mentioned before, it's about the clock. Like this watch right here represents like for the clock for midnight. So knowing about how much progress that a professional or somebody is able to get managed within that certain period of the day, and then especially at nighttime, having access to the accounts, especially at night as well. But other than that, talk about for the Gold Monument 18, Metamec 25, Matthew 31. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.